Just a little bit of Reiki again. Very inspired by Inagaki Sensei and Isoyama Sensei from the Iwama Dojo. Inagaki Sensei is very fascinated, and he's very good at explaining these things. The bow that we do every time, it's actually very much like the way we do Aikido. We have something called Zanshin in Aikido. When we finish our technique, we pause and give that final movement of the technique room to stay where it is. And that gives us the opportunity to fill out that form with our ki, with our energy. It also allows us to project our ki outwards, even though the movement is finished. Zanshin, Zan means to linger, to stay on. And Shin is kokoro, spirit. So lingering spirit. And that means that you're projecting your energy outwards, even though the actual movement is finished. But if you just throw and don't do that, then there's very little energy that will be coming out. When we bow, it's the same thing. It's sort of, you can say it's the equivalent of a handshake. When you shake somebody's hand, you just sort of go beep and let go. Nothing really comes out of you in terms of the spirit and your feeling that you want to give the person you're shaking a hand of. You shake with a firm handshake and stay connected a little bit. And it gives you a nice feeling, gives the other person a feeling. The same thing when you bow. When you bow, if you bow and bounce out of the bow, there's no feeling. You don't have time to feel anything when you're down there. But if you bow, stop, it gives you a little pause, and that pause means something. So when we bow forward, we're bowing twice, clapping twice, and bowing once more. And it only takes a few seconds more to do it with that pause each time. If you do that pause, it really creates something. Inagaki Sensei also explained to us that he asked a Shinto priest, how do you actually bow to the kamiza? Because nobody can ever see it, because the person who's bowing has his back to everybody else. And the Shinto priest says, when you bow towards the kamiza, you put your hands in a position here, one under the other. You come up, and the hands go down. You clap twice, so each clap can give a sort of reverberation. So the sound goes out, and you bow one time, and come up. So the hand position is different when you're bowing to symbols, or sensei, or whoever is represented up there. And when you bow to people, then you bow with the hands in the normal position here. So there's a difference. Some people talk about putting a triangle here. If you look at the etiquette that's used in tea ceremony, which is the highest level of etiquette, sticking your thumbs out isn't recommended. They use the hands with the thumbs in. So it's a nice symbol. You could easily read a lot of Aikido stuff into it, because we like the triangle. But in terms of correct movement, it's more correct to tuck the thumbs in. So you bow that way, that's for people, and this way for cops. That's the way they do it in Iwama anyway. So it's good to be prepared for that. I'm going to try to sort of gather up some of the stuff that I was thinking of along the way, but didn't manage to do because I was doing something else. If we go from Katadori here, we have this one here, but there's also one that goes here. So this is a Katadori Kino Nagare form. When he grabs me Katadori, I shoot Atsumi at him. And I'm moving a little bit off the side. I come in here, now that controls the other arm. And I can throw over here. So grabs, as soon as he grabs, I do shoulder. Notice I'm coming from the straight line to an angle. And from there I'm going to slide in. This hand crosses over. Slide in, get the arm here. For my ukemi, I let go of him. For a high fall, I hold up. So the The same hand that belongs to the shoulder he's holding does Atami Shomanuchi from below to above. I angle out slightly, cross over. This is a whole series of techniques that are based on katadori. They're called katadori kino nagari. In the actual terminology, there's nothing that speaks about the fact that you're actually using a shomanuchi from Nage's point. So there's no real indication of this series other than katadori kino nagari. But they all belong to this group here, where I'm shooting Atami at him with this. Now, it depends on what he's doing. In this case, Oda is giving me energy back, which makes this necessary. If I come in here and there's no energy, if the arm is weak, then I can actually just sort of step in and throw. But the correct ukemi from his part is that he meets me, he doesn't let me go in. And in that case, I'm going in here and throw. Okay? So, I can, from here, I'm getting his energy back. I'm going down and catching his arm, turning him in here. And I can make the Kokyu form of Kokyu Nage. So here, coming in, catch it, turn him around. So this whole series of techniques coming from this position requires certain body presence. In this case, it also requires him, he wants to cut my hand down. His intention is to get that hand away so he can, for instance, punch me or do something here. So I'm doing this, and he's countering. So his energy is coming towards me. I step to the outside at an angle and catch his hand here. If I step too far to the side, I can't catch his hand. And if I don't step to the side, I'm on the line of attack. So from here, it's a slight hanmi turn, pivot turn. And as the hand goes down, this hand turns this way. And from here, I'm going to bring him around this way. This is basically what we're doing when we do shomanuchi. From here to here, or from yokomen from here to here. Okay? So, turning a little bit, catching, and then sliding him around. Now this arm can be in the way, but from this position here, I've got access this way. It's not in the way when I'm here. So as I come in, it gives me access for the Kokyu version of the Kokyu He's being nice now. In cases here, sometimes what happens is the partner knows what's going on, so he starts to lean into the technique, which makes it really hard to throw in that direction. So applied Aikido is where you go where the resistance isn't. So in this case, you take your flame close to you and turn to the rear instead. So, coming around, coming in here. You can also do it as an active technique. Even if you just go stand up straight here, you can bring your partner in. You can sort of lead that technique yourself, but especially if your partner is sort of going, and it really doesn't make sense to go against him. Just bring him into you, turn, and throw. tell if it's people's feet that are squeaking or someone that you okay here going. I'm feeling it's the latter. When I come in here and turn around, I'm standing in the Kokyu hold position. I'm bringing him in, and I recommend pivoting on this foot. So when I finish, I'm standing. It's sort of the same as when we were doing the head throw. When we were coming in, and I was getting down here, and I was doing this. It's sort of the same. It's more natural here because I have my front foot in position already. But if he's falling around, I don't want to stand this way. I want to finish, so I'm standing here. And it's the same in this technique. I recommend adjusting. So you come in here, take him in, and remember you're pivoting on this foot. So the front foot is going back. And if he starts to fall around, adjust so that you're standing here and that. Basically, whenever we're throwing, in general, I want to stand there. In any case, I'm protecting my toe, I want to stand at this angle here as much as possible. So the same here. I recommend adjusting so we end up standing in that position. So continuing in the same form, he comes in here. Now he's going to come down, he's also going to grab my hand. And in that case, I'm going to lean forward into. So he cuts down and grabs a hand. And I lead him. So, to Taino Henko or not to Taino Henko? You can do both. If he's cutting down here, you can turn and do Taino Henko. If he's cutting down here, you can stay where you are and use the hips. Both of them feel natural to me. I really think it depends on the energy that you're getting from your partner, when they're grabbing, how they're grabbing. Both feel stable, in my opinion, so I'm not going to be too dogmatic about it. Both are valid ways of standing. So try one more time. Try to feel what feels natural for you, Taino Henko or Kokyu, or it could be that it'll be different from time to time. And again, if the partner hasn't fallen at that time, comes right, he grabs the hand, and giving him around, and he hasn't fallen at that time, then we go into the continuation of that. It comes in, nothing's happened yet, come around, and that gives you another version of Kokyu Nage. Okay? Nothing's happened. Slide in. Oh yeah, so this is actually an applied version of the first Kokyu Nage that we did from this series. The first one we did went here to there, directly in. So not direct, I was standing off a little bit off the line, but I'm going around and in here. So what's happening now is I'm trying to get the first in, he comes in here, trying to get that one in, but that still didn't work, so then I go into the second. Okay. So it's actually the same one that we did from the beginning, but I'm going through the attempted version of trying to throw from that technique, just so you understand there's the theory behind what we're doing. Okay, I'm going to go back for a katate a little bit now. We had the series here where we're going into the Kokyu hold version. Now there's also another one that comes in from this position here, which sensei did quite often. Looks almost like Kokyu Nage. What's happening is I'm coming in here as if I'm doing Taino Henko, feet as Kokyu hold, but as I turn inwards now, I bring his hand up to the rear. So this is almost Shiho Nage. There are two ways Sensei showed grabbing the hand or the arm. One is coming around and getting the wrist, tuck your shoulder into his armpit, and then throw as a Kokyu Nage. I'll show that from the side here. So as you come around, this hand goes down here and grabs the wrist and pulls it back with the shoulder in. The other version is coming here as you come up. You grab Tegatana of his hand. I'm getting this grip here. And it goes into place as you come down. You turn down, you see that I'm holding here. I can't grab it right away, but as I bring it around here, it goes into place. So there are two versions here. Everything else is the same. I'm putting my shoulder into his armpit, the arm like Kokyu Nage, stepping in and throwing in an angle. Or going around, getting the wrist. The wrist I can get a little bit sooner. Okay, so two versions. Right? Right. What's the topic? Continuing? So a few cases where you don't go to the outside, you go to the inside. If you go to the inside, you need atami. And in this case also, usually we do kuzushi downwards. Kuzushi doesn't have to be downwards. In Suwariwaza Kokyu Ho, we do kuzushi upwards and then downwards. So that's what's happening here. I'm going upwards kuzushi and then I'm going out to the side. I don't want to turn my back to him. I'm going in and up to about 90 degrees at this point. I may need to adjust again so I get a strong angle depending on where he lands. You can do it from Kihon, let him grab, step in, and spiral down, adjust. Or you can go in from. If you're doing it in Kino Nagari form, you don't really need atami because you're already on the way. You can if you want, but if you're doing it slowly, you can't just step in because his hand is available. Hi. How do you stop? So, I was mentioning that Kaite Nage could also be considered a Kokyu Nage in essence. But also the Kaite Nage leads into Kokyu Nage as well. In this position here, instead of going into Kaite Nage, you can enter into Kokyu Nage. Kuzushi, pressure in towards your partner so he's connecting. This creates that, and when that happens, you need him into this time. So this is Uchi Kaite Nage. This is one of my, it's actually called a hobby horse in English too, or kipis in Danish. You could also call it a pet peeve, one of the things that I see a lot. That is, people know they're going to go under the arm, so kuzushi becomes this, which means kuzushi isn't there. There should be a downward kuzushi first, before you go under the arm. That's part of the packaging. And then from there, you go in. Okay? So please don't forget downward kuzushi in this. Go up. And hey. Again. If your uke doesn't give you resistance in this position here, then you get Kokyu Nage there too. You can also be proactive and get the Kokyu Nage without him. So you know you're coming in, so you step right in. So one of the two. So while we're here, let's just do that one too. Stepping in, coming in here. Now in this position, I step back, and that gives me the Kokyu whole form of Kokyu Nage. Soto Kaitenai. So I'm going outside. In this one, we do a full Taino Henko turn and then throw. In the old days, we learned from Ito Sensei, we did a Kokyu Ho turn and we threw from that position. Saito Sensei told us once, he saw us doing it, and he probably could recognize the old form. He said, you can do that, but he said, for Kihon, try to step in and around. So it's not wrong, it's an older version. So we want to try to practice what's big first. So from this position, step in Todocho, Taino Henko, Soto Kaitenai doesn't get trained that often, and I have a theory is because Uke quite often lets go. I think that's one of the reasons. And what is needed is for teachers to explain that if Fuki lets go, then he's not in control of the hand anymore. Then, and then the hand can be used for Ajahn. So if you do that a few times, it will help the person understand it's a good idea to keep on holding it. Because that way I can't use the hand. I need to do an Aikido technique. Because he needs to keep his hand wrapped around. So it's important for us as teachers to remember, without damaging our uke, to explain that there's a reason for that happening. Also, we're not going to do it today, but just remember that we can also go into these techniques through Taino Henko for the flowing version. Go around, in. Right? The flowing versions of Kaitenage include that initial movement. And I can go inside, Soto, as well. So you can add the Taino Henko version to them, and that will give you a longer and more sort of fluid form, both in your Kaitenage, which is it's part of, but also if you are going to use them for Kokyu Nage purposes. Okay, finishing up here. The basic form is he usually holds here. Now, if he changes that position, if he's holding down, I can't get my elbows underneath, so I can't do that technique. There are lots of versions from here. We're going to do the fun one here that goes. Usually we always train with open hands. In this case, we use others. So he's holding me down. I'm turning my hip. The hip that I turn forward is going to be the hand that I use for this. And then this hand, inside hand, comes up as a fist and goes towards his face. So I'm going to turn this way. It's not this, it's this. So hip is coming. Right?